I seen Mars with my own naked eyes.
Hello, we are broadcasting from in the basement at an undisclosed location.
Back many moons ago, when I attended university in the city of Toronto, I remember heading down into the subway at Downsview Station. At the time, the city's most northern subway station, and a direct line to the downtown city center. All was well in Toronto the Good. It was a muggy, humid, and hot summer day. The kind of humid that sweat would form immediately under any long garments. It was clear skies at Downsview Station when I boarded, and by the time I exited at Queen's Park, smack downtown, a swarm of small dark insects greeted me. They choked the downtown core. It was amazing. A haze of insects moved like schools of fish in unison, hanging over the heads of the city residents. My afro was covered by the insects, and they peppered my white t-shirt. As I waited for my streetcar to save me, some woman approached me and asked what was going on. I thought for a moment and answered, there must have been some disaster at the University of Toronto, the downtown university just off Queen's Park subway station, and one of the insect departments must have released them. Now mind you, this was 2001, a month before 9/11. I had no idea what happened. It was my first thought. Where on earth was this swarm from? Smack downtown. The lady nodded and walked away from me. By the time I boarded the streetcar, others had begun saying the same thing. There was an explosion, one said. A leak, another. At the facility, said another. They were regurgitating my story almost immediately. But I had no idea if that was true, and of course, they knew even less than I. I got off the streetcar about 15 stops later, and to my horror, the swarm was there too. The whole downtown was buried by aphids. Millions and millions of them, and then, just like that, 2 days later, they were gone. Millions upon millions of aphids that infested the city were gone, just like that. They were gone and forgotten, and all these years later, it has never been spoken about again, and few even remember it. A month later, after this plague, I had a spare class in the morning, and so I stayed home a little later than usual. When I turned the TV on, 9/11 had already begun. Live coverage showed the second building being hit, and so began the dawn of a new era. Everyone forgot about freedoms. Law and order and the Patriarchs Act stripped us of our rights, and we all forgot again. No one remembers our freedoms. We simply forgot how we used to live without fear. A few years after both these events, an enormous blackout caused by a transformer malfunction somewhere in the chain blacked out the entire eastern seaboard of the United States and Canada. 50 million people were plunged into darkness, and the comfortable and pampered peoples here panicked. They had been never used to living like this. They started to give away the meat in their fridges. Corner stores handed out ice cream to everyone who wanted them. There was no television, so everyone clung to their radios. Streetcars powered by electricity froze in the city streets, and long before the Trump rallies, tiki torches sold out, placed in backyards and patios. It wasn't enough, however. The darkest night that I've ever witnessed in the city descended on us in Toronto, and at the same time as this disaster, the planet Mars was at its closest to Earth since it had been in the last 60,000 years. The night of the Great Blackout, outside my friend's home in the glow of tiki torches, I seen Mars with my own naked eyes. Just like that, the blackout and that beautiful Mars sighting were forgotten. They were forgotten. Just before the blackout, a patient was admitted into a Toronto hospital with a fever above 38 degrees, unknowingly carrying SARS. She died, but before she did, she quickly spread SARS throughout the hospital networks. After 2 waves of SARS, long before COVID-19 and COV SARS, Toronto was abandoned by the world, and every city in the world told their citizens not to go. And just like that, McJagger came and he, along with a slew of other artists, had a concert where 500,000 people were there, and everyone forgot. We forgot about the stars. The following year, an undersea earthquake, measuring 9.1 to 9.3 on the Richter scale, the largest in the 21st century and the third largest earthquake known to man, struck off of the island of Sumatra in Indonesia. This earthquake had the longest observed faulting, 8 to 10 minutes. It vibrated the entire Earth as much as half an inch and remotely triggered earthquakes as far away as Alaska. An estimated 227,898 people died after 100-foot tsunamis crashed onto Sri Lanka, Indonesia, and as far away as Somalia. It was horrifying beyond imagination, and yet, after all the horror, we still forgot. We are the forgetful creature. We forget. We forget the horrors of our childhood, of our adolescence, our adult years. We forget all the harm that was done to us, all the lies, the deceit. We even forget ourselves, to brush our teeth, to take care of our needs. We forget our births, our developing years. We forget almost everything. We need each other to remind us, where are we going wrong? Where are we going wrong? We need us to show each other by examples. We need examples so we can examine them, and in doing so, examine our very selves. We forget about the lies that got us into wars, the liars that come back and do it again. We are decent for the most part. We don't suspect liars to lie. We expect goodness from each other. We expect help, understanding, and mercy. Why are we doomed to make the same mistakes over and over again? History repeated itself over and over again. Well, it is because we forget.
We forget.
Because remembering would make us bitter, jaded, cross. If we held on to the past, we would become hopeless. So we need to forget. Forgetting is what gives us hope. Forgetting allows us to show mercy. For how could you live with the horrors of life, the struggles and evils of this world, if you remembered all of it? You couldn't. So you need to forget. It is better to let go. But every once in a while you need a reminder. This is only a reminder.